Welcome back to Practice Intimacy. This is the place to be to learn all about love, sex, and how to have the best relationship you possibly can. I am Jamie Lynn. I am a marriage and family therapist in the Austin area, and today I wanted to talk to you about one of my favorite subjects in the whole wide world. I think that this is truly like the main skill that all of us need to learn in order to lead good lives, but if you want to have a wonderful relationship, then this is the key skill, and it is boundaries. I did an 8-hour training on boundaries just last month. There is so much to say on this subject, and so I'm only going to get into a piece of it today, and I'm sure I'll record more videos about it in the future. But if you're interested in learning all about boundaries, then check out a course that I recorded. It is with the person who is my mentor, Julianne Taylor Shore, and we go into all the different kinds of boundaries and how to increase your skill in each one by following really a step-by-step process. And we give you practices for each one of the boundaries. But today in this video, because of limited time, I just want to give you like an introduction and one skill, one takeaway that's really important as you begin practicing boundaries. So first, let's start with the definition. What are boundaries? Boundaries are an emotional and behavioral stance toward the world that increases your felt sense of safety. Let me break that down a little. Boundaries are an emotional and behavioral stance toward the world. So not only am I internally holding on to my values whenever I'm thinking about boundaries, I'm holding on to how I want to feel in the world, how I want other people to feel when they're around me. So this is all the emotional stance side. And I'm thinking about behaviors, not just my behaviors, although that matters too whenever we're talking about boundaries. I have boundaries with myself, just like I have boundaries with other people. But when it comes to behaviors, here are the actions that I find acceptable for me to do. Here are the actions I find acceptable from others, the things I'm willing to tolerate. And so what does all of this mean? If I have this emotional and behavioral stance toward the world around what I believe to be positive, acceptable, and all of that is meant to create a greater sense of safety in my life and the lives of people I care about, then really what's going on is boundaries are an attempt to communicate with the world. Here's what I'm needing in order to feel safe. Here's what you can do for me in order to help me feel safe. Here's what I'm going to do for myself in order to keep myself safe. That's really like, if I was going to boil down a lot of the boundary work we talk about today, it's not all of it, but one of the main things that we talk about today is the things we are doing to keep ourselves safe, the things we're telling other people about their behavior and how they act and how we're going to respond. That's usually what we boil boundaries down to, but there's actually tons of steps that come before that. And I don't think I can get into any of that in this video, but I will, because it's so important and it's so helpful to get all the nuance that needs to happen before you can really set a clear and healthy boundary with another person about their behavior. So boundaries are about communicating your needs, being true to your needs, sharing them with others whenever you're in relationship with other people, and then confidently, clearly protecting your needs. They're also about protecting you and others, but it all starts with you. Like intimacy starts with you. I cannot do anything for others until I know how to do it for myself really well. And the better I can do it for myself, the better I can do it for others. Healthy boundaries protect you from being hurt. This is both emotionally and physically. And this is really in relationships that are close, in relationship with yourself, in relationship with the world. What you will notice as you work on your boundaries, what I have noticed as I work on my boundaries, is I do not put myself in dangerous situations like I used to. I do not interact with people who are going to hurt me in some way, whether that's physically or emotionally. And it really is all because of the boundary work I've done. On the other side of that, I don't hurt people as much as I used to. I grew up in a family that was very chaotic. I have lots of parts of me that know how to do one-up aggressive And there were lots of times whenever I would be the one who was acting in a way that was unacceptable. And because of my boundary work, I do not do that anymore. This is really the thing that boundaries do that we don't talk about very often in our culture, because so often we're talking about shoring up your boundaries to protect yourself from others hurting you, which is a big deal. We need to have those conversations. We live in a patriarchal culture. We live in an oppressive, racist culture. And all of the people who are not white cis men historically have needed to shore up their boundaries to where they can protect themselves. At the same time, all those people who have power, myself included as a white lady, we need to come into a space where our boundaries on the containing side become really strong. So there's the boundaries that protect us from the outside world. There's the boundaries that contain the parts of us that could hurt others. And so when I work on my containing boundary, I am less likely to hurt others. My accountability goes way up to where I can say, oh yes, I messed up just now. I really did wrong, and I am going to make it right. I'm going to do better. This is a lot of Brene Brown's work. Anybody who listens to her, she is fabulous. If you don't listen to her, oh my God, listen to her podcast. She's got a special on Netflix that is amazing, and she has a couple of TED Talks that are phenomenal. Anyway, total side note, I am a big fan of Brene Brown, and I think she is somebody that everyone needs to listen to. But when you start working on your boundaries, all of these different things happen. Not only are you more protected, not only are your needs going to be better met, but if you're somebody who tends to lean into some boundarylessness, where your boundary can kind of explode out of you and you can become uncontained, and that might just look like talking to the point where people are like, oh my God, please stop. Or it might look like what I was in the past, where I would throw things at my partners. I would say things that were really inappropriate. I would call them names. I was abusive. And so the containing boundary helped me stop doing all of that behavior. I also needed to shore up the other kinds of boundaries where I would let dangerous people in my life and I would often get hurt. Both sides of this are really important. So that's a lot of information, I know, but the tidbit I wanted to share with you about what you can do in practice is shifting your mindset. Because so often whenever I hear people talking about boundaries, they're talking about them in a way that is disempowered and really like expecting the other person to change. It's just an attempt to control disguised as a boundary. And so people will say things like, well, I set a boundary and they're not listening to it. That is not a boundary. If I'm saying something and trying to make another person act differently with my boundary, the likelihood that they're going to do that is low, one. So you probably won't get what you want, and you've taken all your power away because you're expecting them to change. And so instead, shift your mind to start thinking about boundaries as, here's what I'm going to do if something happens that I am unwilling to tolerate. Say I'm a person who really likes to be on time. This actually isn't true. It's more my partner. He has set this boundary with me, so I'm just going to pretend like it was my boundary. But no, that is not my boundary. It's my partner's boundary. So let me talk about this through his lens. My partner likes to be on time. I am somebody who runs late. My partner is not going to say to me, you have to be on time. That's my boundary. No, that's not a boundary. What my partner is going to say to set a true boundary is, it's really important to me to be on time. I would love to ride in the car with you, but please know that if you are running late and I have said I'm leaving at this time, I am going to leave at that time whether you're in the car or not. That is a healthy boundary. My partner is still empowered to do the thing that they need to do in order to protect themselves and make themselves feel okay in this world, because it does not match with their values to be late. And I know what to expect. If I am not in the car on time, I'm gonna be driving myself, and that's okay. It's disappointing, sure, it's not awesome, neither one of us want that, but it's what needs to happen in order for both of us to really live our lives and be all right. Boundary work is the best. It's so good. I will talk about this more. I know I will. It's one of my favorite subjects in the whole wide world. But truly, if you're interested in going really deep and you want not only my perspective, but the perspective of a woman who does boundaries truly better than anybody I know, then check out the boundaries training that we recorded. It is linked below, and I hope you enjoy it. It's fabulous. It's something that I have watched multiple times as I was editing, and the whole time I'm just like, oh, yes, we did it. We really captured this subject that everyone needs to know. I'll see you in future videos. Bye for now.